There's something a little different about making art for someone you actually know, because you're not just trying to make something pretty. You're trying to make something that feels a little bit like them. For this painting, I wanted to paint zinnias for a friend of mine, inspired by the flowers that were actually growing in her own garden. And I'll admit, this one felt a little intimidating because her husband is an art teacher and my husband's best friend. And not just any art teacher, he is an extremely talented artist. So no pressure, right? There's already something vulnerable about giving someone something that you've made. But giving your art to a household where someone really understands art, suddenly that little critical voice gets a whole lot louder. Is the composition good enough? Do the shadows make sense? And does this neon yellow look absolutely ridiculous? Because I wasn't sure about it and with the other flowers. But from the inspiration picture, it had this color. But I'm trying to remind myself that I'm not trying to paint like someone else. I'm trying to figure out what it looks like to paint like me. And I think that's something that I continue to discover every time I pick up a paintbrush. So for this one, I started building up a really full garden with layers of stems and leaves in the background, and then these big, colorful zinnias scattered all across the painting. I wanted it to feel more full than even the picture that she gave me, because zinnias don't typically grow like this in big bundles. And the colors are definitely brighter than some of the colors that I normally gravitate toward. But I tried to find inspiration from the actual picture she gave, especially that yellow. I'm still not sure about it. I'm still trying to figure out how I like to add shadows and highlights to the flowers too. I don't necessarily want them to look realistic. I like being able to see the brush strokes. I like the layers and the imperfect shapes and the repetitive marks that I make. And that reminds you that this painting was actually painted by somebody. But I also want enough variation in the color that the flowers have some dimension and don't just feel like flat. So that's something I'm still practicing. There are definitely parts of this painting that I really like, and there are parts where I can already see things I would probably do differently next time. I think I sometimes like my paintings better when I have more variety in the flowers, like different types, different shapes, and maybe little unexpected things mixed throughout. Not every painting has to become my new favorite painting, but it can teach me something about color, composition, highlights, and shadows, and I can be grateful for what I learned from it without needing every single part of it to be perfect. But I think what makes this one so special to me is that it isn't really just about painting zinnias. They're her zinnias. But before I finished it, I knew there was something else I wanted to add, or actually two somethings. And this might have been the part I was most nervous about painting because they needed to be very, very tiny. Tiny painting is another skill I'm definitely still practicing when the entire face is basically a few brush strokes. So hiding way back there among all those bright zinnias are her two dogs.